Exclusive contracted novel by Feilu Novel Network. Chief designer of aircraft carrier, unexpectedly persuaded to quit by universities. Traveling through parallel worlds, I performed poorly in the college entrance examination and only attended one vocational school. Grandpa was so angry that he almost passed away on the spot, but it's already like this. What can be done? Attending a vocational school is much better than dropping out. Unexpectedly, 2 years later, my grandfather suddenly received an invitation letter for the 200th anniversary celebration. Just as he was wondering how a plain-headed commoner could receive an invitation letter for the 200th anniversary celebration. On the day of Daqing, I watched my grandson, who should still be studying in a vocational school, fly by in front of everyone's attention, piloting the most advanced fighter jet. The old man was deeply shocked. Has my grandson become a pilot? Or is it an Air Force ace pilot? When the Daqing holiday came to an end and he saw his grandson with 2 stripes and 1 flower, the old man stood still on the spot. Air Force Major General. Feilu Novel Network reminds you that this novel and its characters are purely fictional. If there are any similarities, they are purely coincidental and should not be imitated. Chapter 1. Due to a mistake in developing pulse detonation engines. You are listening at Novel Full.Audio. Chapter 1. Missed Air Force Enlistment Medical Examination due to the development of pulse detonation engine source star. 787 years in the Gregorian calendar. The Eastern Divine Alliance. In August, Dongshengdu is slightly hot and dry. Air Force Enlistment Medical Examination Department. I'm sorry, I came late due to some reasons. Can I still participate in the Air Force Enlistment Medical Examination now? Qin Xiao ran to a soldier standing guard, sweating profusely. Sorry, the Air Force Enlistment Medical Examination has ended. Can't we accommodate it a bit? Air Force Enlistment Medical Examination is not just a joke. If you really want to enlist in the Air Force, you won't be late. If you're late, wait for the next conscription. The soldier finished speaking and turned around to continue standing guard. Qin Xiao sighed helplessly and then walked away. The scorching sun is rising, and the temperature is getting higher and higher. Qin Xiao appeared a bit listless as he walked onto the street. But soon, a smile appeared on his drooping face. Although the Air Force's enlistment medical examination was missed, after working hard for half a year, the final difficulty was finally solved. If there were enough funds, it should be possible to create it. Thinking of this, Qin Xiao couldn't help but feel a little excited on his face. Qin Xiao is a traveler. And he, who is now traveling through a different world, coincides with the Eastern Divine Alliance in the 787 year of the original calendar. In this world, there is a great difference from the world he was in before. There is no country or kingdom in this world, and things like the Eastern Divine Alliance are called powers. The population of the East God Alliance is nearly 2.3 billion, making it one of the few major powers in the world. After nearly 200 years of establishment, the East God Alliance can be considered one of the top in terms of technology and comprehensive strength in the world. Apart from the Star Alliance, which has already occupied a continent, only the other 2 major powers can compare with the East God Alliance. The Star Alliance, which occupies a continent, has a tendency to invade the world, but there are numerous internal contradictions. The Eastern God Alliance, on the other hand, has developed steadily for many years. Not only that, Qin Xiao also discovered that when traveling through the land, he miraculously possessed the ability of mechanical affinity, involving various types of mechanical knowledge. As long as he had read it, he could draw inferences and even elevate the knowledge. Even any machinery can quickly become proficient in his hands. It is precisely because of this ability that he was able to develop pulse detonation engines in just 6 months. The reason why the Air Force Enlistment Medical Examination was delayed today is because I had a feeling yesterday and can't wait to try it today. I didn't expect to invest too much in research. After he overcame the difficulties in materials, he realized that he was almost late. He didn't even have time to tidy up the things at the research site before rushing over, but he didn't expect it to be too late. But he doesn't regret it. Although the Air Force did not meet the medical examination for enlistment, the research on the pulse shock engine has already been completed, and the rest is to build the engine. The military research in this world is not well developed, and the engines suitable for fighter jets are generally still the turbojet engines invented decades ago. Even though this technology has only been innovated, it still belongs to the turbojet engine series. With the development of jet technology, the drawbacks of turbojet engines have become increasingly prominent, which are high fuel consumption and low efficiency at low speeds, making the aircraft's range very short. Although this is not very serious for high-speed fighter jets carrying out air defense missions, it is unacceptable to use it on subsonic civilian transport aircraft that have strict economic requirements. Various forces in the world of origins are eager to invent the second generation of aviation engines, and have even proposed the new concept of scramjet engines. However, the scramjet engine is still in theory, and there are not many forces in the research field in practice. The military power of the source star is being studied, but the specific progress is unknown. If Qin Shao had to give it a name, it would be the third-generation aircraft engine, as he invented the Earth Pulse Shock Engine. This is a new concept engine that utilizes pulse detonation waves to generate thrust. This type of engine has a simple structure with few or no moving parts, higher thermal cycle efficiency than conventional piston, turbine, and ramjet engines, higher thrust-to-weight ratio, and lower fuel consumption. Pulse detonation engines are not only suitable for aviation, but also have sufficient qualifications as aerospace and planetary engines. On the way, Qin Shao had long forgotten that he had missed the Air Force enlistment medical examination, and his mind was filled with various data and formulas related to the pulse shock explosion motive. If given enough conditions, he wished he could immediately take action to create this epic-making thing. Unfortunately, there is no such condition. Qin Shao muttered to himself, and just then, a familiar phone ringtone rang. It's his phone. On the phone, the two big characters, Mother, are clearly displayed. Mom. The notes on the phone were not created by him, but by his mother's masterpiece. He didn't care about these either, so he never changed them. However, at this moment, Qin Shao was somewhat hesitant. At this moment, my mother called, and the purpose was self-evident. Come and inquire about the results of the Air Force enlistment medical examination. If he had gone, he wouldn't have hesitated so much. The key is that he was late, and I don't know how to explain it. My grandfather has always hoped that he would become a soldier, preferably an Air Force pilot, since he was young, for two reasons. One is a handsome Air Force pilot. When the old man was a child, he dreamed of flying a fighter jet, but his dream shattered and he wanted to achieve something with his grandson. Secondly, compared to other branches of the military, the importance of the Air Force steadily ranks in the top 3, except for missile units. The old Qin family only had him as their only son and grandson, and he finally missed a chance. To be honest, although there is no risk of being killed, being blamed is definitely inevitable. The phone rang for a long time, and the passers-by around were occasionally attracted by the sound and turned their heads to look over. Qin Shao felt a bit embarrassed when he was seen, gritted his teeth and directly swiped the green answer button upwards. Mom, what's up? P.S. First of all, let me clarify that this book has 2 main lines. One is about conducting research, but it won't take up too much space. The other one is air combat, which is the most important line. After developing the pulse shock burst motivation, the plot will focus on air combat with research as a supplement. As for the female lead, it depends on the situation. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 2. This should allow for a replacement to enter your institution. You are listening at Novel Full.Audio. What else can I do? Mom's tone had a hint of anger, but her voice was very gentle. It's not yet a matter of Air Force recruitment medical examination. At this point, the medical examination should have ended. How did the result go? Have you passed it? The 3 consecutive questions from my mother made Qin Xiao dumbfounded. How to answer this question? The physical examination was over, but he didn't even participate. Qin Xiao was about to organize his language when his mother's voice came again. Son, why aren't you talking? Isn't it okay? My dear, your grandfather's lifelong wish was to have someone from the old Qin family fly the most advanced fighter jet to enhance our country's prestige. Why did you lose the election? Now that everything is good, all hope is gone. Also, I heard that the school advised you to drop out because you often skipped classes. Is this really true? Good things never go out, evil things travel thousands of miles. The school advised him to drop out of school, but even his mother knew about it. This was something Qin Xiao didn't even think of. Compared to the medical examination for Air Force pilots, being discouraged by the school is obviously more despicable. Mom, I'll explain to you about dropping out when I go back. Some things are difficult to explain on the phone, and it's also difficult to say. Okay. Mom doesn't have any intention of blaming. Her own son knows well that he has had good grades since childhood and has a strong sense of self-discipline. Although he did not take any prestigious universities in the college entrance examination, it was also because he missed one, otherwise he would have been a top scorer in science. Moreover, Qin Zhao's impression in her eyes has always been very independent. This time, due to frequent skipping classes, I was persuaded to leave by the school, so there should be another reason. She didn't ask in detail over the phone, and it was obvious that she couldn't explain such things clearly over the phone. If you drop out, then drop out. However, my son, you still have to attend college. In today's society, although it's not true that a high degree leads to a high income, a high degree is a stepping stone to wealth or status. Sometimes, it's not enough without it. Even if you haven't gone to college, you may not be able to marry a wife. You're so smart. Come back to review for a year, take the college entrance examination next year, and directly attend Daqing First University. I don't know how much better this school is now. Mom was quite open-minded and didn't get angry or embarrassed because her son was dropped out of school. Instead, she asked him to review for another year to make up for the regret of last year's college entrance examination. I will consider this matter. Don't tell Grandpa about the medical examination for Air Force pilots for now, I'm afraid he'll be upset. Qin Xiao tirelessly listened to his mother's tireless teachings. He had never considered the matter of reviewing, but since his mother had raised it, his refusal clearly hurt her heart a bit. As for Grandpa's side, he was really worried that he would get angry and fall ill if he knew. He still remembers that his mother talked about how his father didn't participate in the recruitment competition back then, and his grandfather was so angry that he almost passed away on the spot. If the news of him, the 3rd generation, missing the medical examination for recruiting pilots, reaches the ears of the old man, he may really have to memorize it. Mom knows, you can rest assured. Your grandfather doesn't know about you coming to participate in the Air Force recruitment medical examination. Tell him in person when you come back. The phone hung up, but Qin Zhao's mood was a bit complicated. My own research has been successful, but the series of events caused by this research have hurt many people's hearts. Although my mother may speak calmly, she knows how uncomfortable she feels in her heart. As a son, she knows very well. It's just that the mother and son are tacit and unwilling to speak openly. The Air Force. Is there any shortcut besides participating in the recruitment process? Wait another year, this time is too long for him to afford, and there is no guarantee that he will not miss out on studying other things. Qin Xiao kept muttering and instinctively touched his head. The next moment, a thought flashed through his mind, and his eyes immediately lit up. A few years ago, Daqing was preparing to research the second generation of aviation engines, but no news has been transmitted yet. Obviously, the progress is not fast, and perhaps even there have been no achievements so far. The thoughts in Qin Zhao's mind became increasingly clear. In the situation where Daqing has not even developed a second-generation engine, I will send over the third-generation engine, and it should not be difficult to change the quota for the Air Force Military Flight Command Academy, right? The more he thought about it, the more Qin Zhao felt that this feasibility was extremely high. Anyway, his research on pulse detonation engines was originally aimed at strengthening the country and the military, and he will definitely teach it to the forces in the future. It's better to take advantage of this opportunity to secure a spot in the Air Force. Feasible. This feasibility is very high. The corners of Qin Zhao's eyes became increasingly bright, and he quickened his pace and rushed directly towards his place of residence. Turn on the computer. Search the official website of Daqing Air Force Military Flight Command Academy. Find the email address of the college. Qin Zhao took note of this email, then packaged and edited all the previously organized materials into categories, and uploaded them to the email attachment. There is a lot of information and space, and the upload speed is slower than expected. Taking advantage of this time, Qin Zhao began editing in the text box. Condensed in a white sonic boom cloud and soaring in the sky, Qin Zhao, a young man who has been dropped out of school, hopes to enter your institution to learn fighter jet driving skills. After typing these words, the attachment had just been uploaded. Qin Zhao clicked on send and only breathed a sigh of relief when it showed successful sending. This should be possible. Qin Zhao was somewhat uneasy. Although there was some connection between aviation engines and pilots, the relationship was really not significant. Pilots, they definitely don't know anything about aviation engines. Noon. Daqing 1st Air Force Military Flight Command Academy. A clerk specifically responsible for cleaning the college mailbox has just returned from dinner. He was supposed to go out for a walk at this time, but it was raining heavily here today. With nothing to do, he opened the college's mailbox and prepared to clean it up at this moment, so as not to feel dizzy and forget everything in the afternoon. The college's email hardly receives any valuable emails, many of which are spam emails, but he tirelessly cleans them up. Until he saw a title titled, Motivation for Pulse Shock Bursts. Aircraft Engines. Don't joke, if the email of Daqing Academy receives such an email, he will still believe it. Daqing Air Force Military Flight Command Academy received this, isn't it a joke? However, with a sense of responsibility, he clicked on the email and read it for a while. At first, he didn't think it was important, but after reading it for a while, the content became increasingly obscure and difficult to understand, gradually becoming more profound. This made the mockery on his face converge, and his eyes became serious. Isn't this really pulse detonation engine technology? Drool rolled in my throat, with a look of surprise in my eyes. Although he is a soldier, his actual education level is not low, and he is a graduate of the highest education institution in Daqing. However, even so, the information in front of him, except for a little bit at the beginning that could be understood, was fundamentally beyond his comprehension. At this moment, he had realized that this was definitely not a joking email. The other party, it's true. Without much thought, regardless of the authenticity of these materials, it is necessary to contact the dean as soon as possible. Pulling out his phone, he didn't mind going beyond his level, he acted in a hurry. Hello, who is it? On the other side of the phone, the voice of Xiao Wanjun, the dean of Daqing Military Flight Command Academy, came. Dean, I am Xiao Lu, responsible for cleaning the college's email. I have received an extremely special email that requires you to personally take a look. Okay, I'm in the office. Come over now. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 3. Chief Engineer of Second-Generation Aviation Engine Research and Development. You are listening at Novel Full.Audio. The phone hung up, but Xiao Wanjuan's eyes narrowed. Special emails. He believed Xiao Lu's words 90%. For military personnel, they won't talk nonsense on such a big matter, and they will report it to their superiors, which can be big or small. It all depends on how special the information Xiao Lu brings over next. Xiao Wanjun didn't wait in the office for long, and soon there was a knock at the door. It's lunch break now, and most people don't disturb themselves. The person who came is undoubtedly Xiao Lu, who just reported on his work. Xiao Lu, come in. Xiao Lu pushed the door and entered, seeing Xiao Wanjun sitting on the sofa beside him. He quickly walked over and opened the laptop that had already been opened, placing it in front of Xiao Wanjun. Dean, look, this is the information sent in this email. Research and practice of pulse shock burst motivation technology. Xiao Wanjun scanned the folder and his eyelids suddenly jumped. Is this true? Xiao Lu explained on the side, Dean, I have read some of the information inside. Apart from being able to understand a bit earlier, the knowledge involved later is too advanced. I'm afraid it requires an extremely professional person to determine whether this is true. Xiao Wanjun nodded slightly, but his expression was no longer as lazy as before, but became sharp and solemn. He opened the folder and looked at the information inside. Although I can hardly understand it, as the Dean of the Dongxin Air Force Military Flight Command Academy, I still have some basic judgment abilities. He has at least 70% certainty that this information is true, and whether or not he can create a pulse shock burst motive requires professional judgment. Xiao Lu, the email system has been fully scanned, and I don't want any of this information to be leaked. I will contact the Academy of Sciences now. Yes, Dean, but this information is too professional. Isn't the Dean familiar with Chief Engineer Chen, who is responsible for the research project of the second-generation aviation engine? A word awakens the dreamer. Xiao Wanjun slammed his thigh and said, why did I forget about old Chen? That old man is now the chief engineer in charge of the second-generation aviation engine project. If it were him, he could definitely judge how high the feasibility of this information is. Xiao Wanjun didn't dare to waste time. This matter is too big, even the Dean of the East God Air Force Military Flight Command Academy, who holds the rank of Lieutenant General, dare not neglect it. He had a vague feeling that this information might shock the entire second-generation aircraft engine project development team. Fengcheng. Dongxin Military Aircraft Research and Development Center. Engine Research Project Team. Even during the lunch break, none of the members of the Aviation Engine Research Project Team took a break, and Chief Engineer Qin Chi took the lead in fighting on the front line. The research and development of the second-generation aircraft engine requires the chief engineer to always keep an eye on it, and many difficult problems require him to lead everyone to overcome. However, the research on second-generation aircraft engines was not achieved overnight. For a full 3 years, the concept of scramjet engines remained as simple as ever, and the core difficulties remain unclear to this day. Dear colleagues, 3 years ago we proposed the concept of a scramjet engine, but after 3 years, we have achieved nothing. The Alliance's money has been spent one after another, and without any further results, we cannot bear this responsibility. The Star Alliance on the other side of the ocean began research on scramjet engines as early as 5 years ago. We don't know what the research results will be, but one thing is that regardless of their research, we must have achievements. Qin Chi's words fell through, and the entire project team remained silent, with each person's face tinged with blush and shame. For a full 3 years, research and development funds have been invested one after another, with hundreds of billions invested in it. Even now, there hasn't been a single splash. Even if Qin Chi didn't say it, they didn't feel well in their hearts. At this moment, a staff member pushed the door in. Mr. Chen, your phone number. I won't answer now. It belongs to Dean Xiao. Xiao Wanjun. Bring it over. Chen Qi took the phone and said, Old Xiao, he's busy right now. If you have anything to say, please tell him quickly. It's been a long time and he's violated the rules. Okay, I'll make a long story short. Xiao Wanjun is not angry either. The entire Research and Development Center is almost classified as top secret, which means that Chen Qi has a special status, otherwise his phones would not be allowed to be used. Especially in the development of scramjet engines, it is the top secret among top secrets. Any leakage of information is a loss for the entire alliance. I have sent you a document through the internet. Take a look, is it feasible? What information is so urgent? You put aside what you're doing first, this matter is even more important than your current research and development of a scramjet engine. Xiao Wanjun's temper, Chen Qi knew that the other party would never say anything empty. For a moment, Chen Qi also became curious and quickly opened the computer in front of him. He downloaded and opened all the information transmitted by Xiao Wanjun through the internal network, and then focused on reading it. Third-generation aircraft engines. Research and development of pulse detonation engines, C/C new materials. Chen Qi muttered in a low voice that these were not the main points, but even so, they had already made him pay great attention. He continued to look down, and a dense array of formulas and data flooded into his eyes. After watching for half an hour, the entire conference room was also quiet for half an hour. After a long time, the indifference on Chen Qi's face had long disappeared, replaced by a 10,000-point shock. Hiss. This is the complete information of the third-generation aviation engine. The pulse shock engine is too efficient, not to mention fighter jets, it can even be used as a planetary engine. Chen Qi continuously sucked in the air conditioning for half an hour, and there wasn't much he could see. As the chief engineer of the second-generation aircraft engine development, even a little bit of information was enough for him to judge something. This information has a feasibility of over 90%. Chen Qi took another breath and took out his phone to call back Xiao Wanjun. Lao Xiao, where did this information come from? Which engineer in the military? Which information is highly feasible? High. It's not just high, the feasibility is as high as 99%. With this complete information, the research on second-generation aircraft engines can be completely abandoned, and we can directly build third-generation aircraft engines. As Chen Qi spoke, his face gradually turned red and his expression appeared excited. It has been 3 years since he started researching the second generation of aircraft engines, but there has been no progress. Now, he has a complete set of engine development materials that are more advanced than scramjet engines, and his mood can be imagined. Who? I don't know, this was received by our college email. You. College email. Chen Qi was momentarily stunned. Can you receive this kind of information that can overturn the entire aviation engine field from the email of Daqing Air Force Military Flight Command Academy? Don't lie to me, my mind hasn't flooded yet. Chen Qi looked incredulous. Old Xiao, when is it? You're still joking with me like this. Tell me quickly that his information is too feasible. I need to hire him to help us develop the third-generation aviation engine. I'll give him the position of chief engineer, and I'll be his deputy. Are you the deputy? Xiao Wanjun was somewhat stunned by these words. But at the same time, I also understand the importance of that information in my heart. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 4. Take out this, you're holding it together just to. You are listening at novel full.audio. Old Chen, are you serious? Although he understood, Xiao Wanjun couldn't help but be amazed. Being able to serve as the chief engineer for the development of second-generation aircraft engines, Chen Qi is impeccable in both qualifications and abilities. Moreover, this is also the vice president of the Eastern Academy of Sciences. When it comes to importance, compared to Chen Qi, this dean is one heaven and one earth. At any time, high-level technological talents are more important than anyone else. It is precisely because he understands these things that he finds it even more incredible. A chief engineer is actually preparing to step down and appoint Xian as his deputy. If this news were to spread, the entire East God scientific community would probably be shocked. Not only the scientific community, but also the military should be taken aback. Chen Qi, despite his lack of power, has a very high status, especially in the military. His face, Xiao Wanjun, may not be as big as Chen Qi's. The person from the East God Army Council, when he saw Chen Qi, also had to shout out to Chief Engineer Chen. "I have never been more serious than I am now. Old Xiao, you are not a researcher and have no idea of the importance of this information. 3 years ago, you know that I took on the research and development of the second-generation aviation engine. By the way, I forgot if you didn't say that. How is the research on second-generation engines going?" Speaking of the second-generation engine, Chen Qi's face was clearly a bit gloomy. To be honest, after spending billions of dollars over 3 years, there has still been no progress. No progress at all. Xiao Wanjuan's eyes suddenly widened, and this news was unimaginable to him. How could it be that the top expert in Dongxin aviation engine has achieved nothing in 3 years? Chen Qi gave a bitter smile and said, "Don't believe it, I'm telling the truth. It's because it's true that this research and development data for the third-generation engine is very precious. As long as the person who gave you this data is willing, let alone the position of chief engineer or vice president of the Academy of Sciences, I can give it to him." At this point, he gritted his teeth and said, "It's really not possible. Let Old Wei retreat. Sleeping slot." At this moment, even Xiao Wanjun couldn't help but curse. The Old Wei mentioned by Chen Qi is the dean of the East Academy of Sciences. "Old Chen, you." Xiao Wanjun felt that Chen Qi was going crazy. Although he is not a high-level researcher, at this moment, he is completely infected by Chen Qi's words. It is self-evident that the importance of this research data on pulse shock burst motivation is enough to make a top scientific expert speak such words. "Old Xiao, tell me, who exactly provided the information from the military?" "Xiao Wang." "It shouldn't be Xiao Wang, he's still too young and doesn't have enough knowledge reserves in this area." "Is it Lao Wan?" "No, it shouldn't be Lao Wan either. Lao Wan has been conducting research in this area for a long time." Chen Qi muttered to himself, speculating. For a long time, there was no answer that could convince oneself. "Lao Xiao, I really can't think of it anymore. Could it be that when did the military have an expert I don't know?" Chen Qi's tone was full of confusion. Xiao Wanjun couldn't help but smile bitterly and said, "Old Chen, you don't have to guess. You're really not from our military. If you do, how could I tell you about this? This information was received through our college's email. As for who it is, I'll let Xiao Lu take a look." After he finished speaking, he turned to Xiao Lu and said, "Xiao Lu, check if the person who sent the email has a signature or something like that." Upon hearing these words, Xiao Lu quickly opened his email and started reading. "Dean, we have found it." "Show me." "Forget it, just recite it directly, it will save me from repeating it to Old Chen again." After Xiao Wanjun finished speaking, he directly turned on the external playback function of his phone, while on the other side, Chen Qi gestured for everyone to remain quiet and listen with their ears raised. Xiao Lu nodded slightly. Condensed in a white sonic boom cloud and soaring in the sky, Qin Xiao, a young man who has been dropped out of school, hopes to enter your institution to learn fighter jet driving skills. Xiao Lu calmly repeated the words in his email. As soon as he finished reading, he didn't feel anything, but upon closer inspection, his eyes widened countless times. Lying trough. Is this the reason? Xiao Wanjun closed his eyes and listened carefully. The first 2 words made him unable to help but feel emotional. In less than 20 words, it vividly showcases the Air Force. I didn't expect the other party to be so artistic. Give a slight compliment in your heart. But soon, he started chewing incorrectly. Show me. Xiao Wanjun snatched the computer from Xiao Lu's hand and stared at the last 2 words with a pair of eyes that were even unbelievable. Xiao Wanjun, the dean of the Military Flight Command Academy of the Dongtian Air Force and a general with the rank of Major General, couldn't help but rub his eyes at this moment. Xiao Wanjun couldn't help but want to use foul language. Could you please send us a complete set of information on the motivation behind the pulse shock explosion to our academy? Are you interested in becoming a pilot at the Dongtian Air Force Military Flight Command Academy? Good guy. I am completely foolish. Xiao Wanjun was so shocked that he didn't know what to say, while on the other hand, Chen Qi and others suspected that something was wrong with his ears. Can you serve as the chief engineer for the development of third-generation aircraft engines and become a pilot at the Dongtian Air Force Military Flight Command Academy? Mom, isn't this a waste of time? Also, are you interested in developing a pulse shock burst engine to exchange for a spot at the Dongtian Air Force Military Flight Command Academy? Am I foolish? Or has this world changed? Has third-generation aircraft engine technology become so worthless? Can a spot in the East God Air Force Military Flight Command Academy be exchanged? Chen Qi is as speechless as he is at this moment. This person is probably the most peculiar person he has ever seen in his life. What's good about being a pilot? Researching third-generation aircraft engines, isn't it enjoyable to be a chief engineer? Qin Xiao, after a long time, Chen Qi took a deep breath and muttered the name confidently. It is obvious that this is a name he has never heard of, and can even be said to be completely unfamiliar with. In my mind, there is no one who can think of such a number one person. So. Taking a deep breath again, Chen Qi's face suddenly became serious. Old Xiao, this matter is too closely related. Could you please arrange for someone to find this person named Qin Xiao? After finding him, you must protect him and all his research materials. You cannot lose a single copy, not even a single word. Once the technology of the pulse shock burst engine leaks, neither you nor I can bear this responsibility. The rise of Dongtian in the military field is highly motivated by the third-generation pulse shock outbreak. When it comes to the rise of a power, it is no longer a matter of strict protection, but rather the need to be equipped with the highest level of security. I didn't chat with Chen Qi for too long. Since the authenticity of the information has been confirmed, both he and Chen Qi have important things to do next. Chen Qi is responsible for conducting in-depth research on that material and conducting a joint review by high-level experts. And he is responsible for finding people. Find that young person who may be able to revolutionize the aviation engine industry in one fell swoop. That's right. Young people. That's how it was written in the email. P.S. Looking for evaluation tickets, looking for flowers. The rules for adding changes are as follows. 300 evaluation votes plus one more chapter. 2,000 fresh flowers with a new chapter. 10 rewards plus one chapter. Thank you all. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 5. Dissuasion from Universities. Are you crazy? You are listening at Novel Full.Audio. Chen Qi was busy convening a high-level expert group for in-depth discussions. On Xiao Wanjuan's side. Hanging up the phone, Xiao Wanjuan's eyes carried an unprecedented solemnity. Xiao Lu, you did a good job today. You didn't choose to ignore it, but reported it to me. Otherwise, if you really ignore it, it will not only be a loss for our college, but also for the entire alliance. As a soldier, even if it's just a civilian, what's needed is this attitude of doing things and being a good person. I will bring up your promotion at the meeting in a while. If there are no unforeseen circumstances, it is certain that you will be promoted to a regular position. Upon hearing this, Xiao Lu's face became increasingly cheerful. As a soldier, although the most important thing is to protect our country and family, if we can also climb the ranks, no one will refuse. Moreover, increasing one's rank is not only an increase in income, but also a recognition of oneself by the organization, which is not something that money can compare to. Thank you, Dean. Little Lu couldn't hide the joy on his face. Xiao Wanjun shook his head and said, "You don't need to thank me. This is something you have grasped on your own. If you see this email today and don't take it seriously, you just think it's impossible and choose to delete it. Perhaps this opportunity will be missed with you. Opportunities will appear in front of everyone, it depends on whether you can seize them." Xiao Wanjun said sternly, "I won't mention the promotion for now. What you need to do now is to cooperate with the intelligence department to investigate this Qin Xiao. Within an hour, I need all his information. Also, it is not allowed to disclose any information about today's matter to the public. A confidential document will be signed later." Yes. Xiao Lu naturally knew the importance of this matter. He took note of the key points and turned around to leave Xiao Wanjuan's office. As Xiao Lu left, Xiao Wanjuan's face also darkened with joy. While other forces are still busy developing second-generation aviation engines, Daqing has already obtained the manufacturing materials for third-generation aviation engines, which undoubtedly presents an opportunity for Daqing to lead the world in the field of aviation engines. At the same time, it is also the dividing line for Daqing to become a military-dominant force as a military alliance. And the most crucial part of this is finding Qin Xiao. Less than an hour. Xiao Lu rushed over with the information. Xiao Wanjuan's office. On the desk, a thick document was placed in front of Xiao Wanjun. At the top of the information, a basic information with a profile picture leaps onto the paper. Xiao Wanjun glanced over and then frowned. He's a student at Daqing University of Science and Technology. Xiao Lu nodded and then said, "However, it seems that he has been persuaded to withdraw by Daqing University of Science and Technology." Being persuaded to quit. Xiao Wanjun looked up at Xiao Lu with a dull expression, as if he had heard the funniest joke in the world. A student who can develop a third-generation aircraft engine will be discouraged by Daqing University of Science and Technology. Is their president crazy? Xiao Lu explained, "Dean, there is a reason why Qin Xiao was persuaded to leave. He has only been in school for less than 2 years and probably doesn't even have half an hour to attend classes. Although Daqing University of Science and Technology is not a prestigious university, facing a student who hasn't attended school for 2 years, persuading him to leave should have been light. Even though the school has reported it many times, Qin Xiao still goes his own way. The school can't teach him anything." Following what Xiao Lu said, Xiao Wanjun took on a sentence. Xiao Lu was stunned for a moment, then suddenly realized. For a student who can develop a pulse detonation engine, Daqing University of Science and Technology cannot teach him much. If he didn't attend class, I guess it should have a lot to do with the development of pulse shock burst motivation, right? Xiao Lu nodded repeatedly and said, "Yes, he rented a whole set of rooms in the neighborhood near the school. Except for occasional meals, he stays in the rented house at all times. Through researching some information, we found that he often purchases various materials online, which is closely related to the development of aviation engines." "That's right." Xiao Wanjun put down the information in his hand and quickly said, "Since the person has been found, please notify the local military to cooperate. Old Chen is in a hurry for me to bring the person over to him completely." "Yes, Dean." By the way, we must remind everyone that we are going to invite Qin Shao, and his attitude must be good. If he comes, he will be promoted to the rank of Deputy Military Chief Engineer in a few days. Deputy rank. Xiao Lu couldn't help but swallow his saliva. That would be the general. Although he is not a general who leads troops to fight, the technical general is also a general. If he encounters the enemy, he still needs to call them the leader. Xiao Lu comes and walks quickly. Although Xiao Lu's rank was not high, Xiao Wanjun decided to entrust this matter to Xiao Lu with full authority to organize. No, Xiao Lu's performance today was too good. The speed of military action is unimaginable to anyone. Not long after Xiao Lu left Xiao Wanjun's office, the Huayu community rented by Qin Shao was already surrounded by many plainclothes soldiers. At the same time, the armed forces of Wu Ji were accelerating their arrival. Daqing University of Science and Technology. Principal's Office. Shi Wenchang looked at a document on his desk with the red seal of the Ministry of Education of Daqing, his face full of desolation. For 3 years, he has applied to the Ministry of Education for 3 consecutive years to upgrade from a second-tier university to a first-tier university at Daqing University of Science and Technology, and has been renamed Daqing University of Science and Technology. But without exception, every application was directly rejected by the Ministry of Education. This time, it was his 6th application in 3 years. However, the application was rejected again by the Ministry of Education for less than a day. The reason is simple. Daqing University of Science and Technology has not yet met the conditions for upgrading from a second-tier university to a first-tier university. Shi Wenchang pressed his hands on his face for so few minutes, as if he had aged 3 or 4 years. Since serving as the Dean of Daqing University of Science and Technology 10 years ago, he has set a goal to promote the school to a higher education institution before leaving or retiring. But now, 10 years have passed, and the goals set back then have almost become the biggest joke. In 2 or 3 more years, he will be retiring. Distance from the target not only fails to bring it closer, but also gives a feeling of getting further and further away. This made him even more decadent. Dong dong dong. The sound of knocking on the door rang out. Come in. Shi Wenchang whispered and his face returned to normal. Lao Zhang, what's up? Oh, it's just a matter of persuading a student to leave. We have already notified you in place, and now we need you to sign it, Dean. Is it the student named Qin Shao? Does the Dean know? Shi Wenchang nodded and said, I know. When he entered school, he had the highest score at that time. If he didn't miss other subjects, he should be at Daqing First University at this time, not at our Daqing University of Science and Technology. He should actually review for a year, otherwise he wouldn't have wasted nearly 2 years like this after coming here. In Shi Wenchang's view, Qin Shao's current situation is closely related to his absence from the college entrance examination. Unfortunately. Shi Wenchang sighed, unsure if he was regretting Qin Shao, regretting himself, or regretting the loss of a celebrity. Bring me the file. Shi Wenchang glanced at it without much hesitation, and directly wrote his name on the persuasion letter, then stamped it, and the document officially took effect. 2 copies in duplicate, give the other copy to Qin Shao. Give him another message, if possible, go back and repeat for a year. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 6. Helicopter Armed Forces Accompanying, Mom. You are listening at novel full.audio. The entire Huayu community was directly surrounded by live ammunition special forces. This kind of thing, no matter where it is placed, is extremely abnormal. Moreover, this is the East God City. There are definitely many defense forces in Dongshengdu, and even soldiers can often be seen on duty. However, this is the first time that a military has directly blocked a community. Outside the Huayu community, the crowd is gathering more and more. Many people inside and outside the community are pointing and pointing. But no one complained at this moment, everyone cooperated with peace of mind. As we all know, there is definitely a reason for the Daqing military to do so, and it may also involve a significant matter of alliance level. If it's really a small matter, it's not the military, but the police. Of course, the police's words are also a big deal, but there is a huge gap compared to the military. The police surrounding a community can be a big or small matter. But the military, it's nothing small. At this point, everyone knows that what they need to do is not to complain, but to cooperate with the military's work. Feilu community is not a spy from other forces, is it? There's a possibility. There are many tenants in Feilu community, and there are also many people from other factions. If it's really a small matter, the military won't come. If we really catch spies, then the other party may have obtained some important information. We hope our soldiers can catch the other party as soon as possible, otherwise the information will be spread and the losses for the alliance will be too great. Many people were discussing in a low voice, and no one would have thought that the military's encirclement of Feilu community was just to protect the safety of a young person. In their view, the possibility of catching spies is the highest. At this moment, a lieutenant ran over to a division-level officer, bowed to him, and then whispered, "Report to the leader, the target person is not in the room. It seems like he went out 2 hours ago and hasn't returned yet. Should we enter the target person's room first?" "No way." The division-level officer shook his head. If there were any other urgent matters, he didn't have to think too much and just sent someone in, but the people he needed to contact this time were different. Although the other party is only a student, he remembers very clearly. This task was assigned to him by his senior leader Xiao Wanjun, and the Academy of Sciences also made every effort to protect the safety of the target person. Of course, it's not a big deal if it's a regular protection task. In his mind, even now, the words of the senior leader Xiao Wanjun rang out. "Xiao Zhang, you must remember that although your protection target is only a student, if he is willing, he can soon become a technical chief engineer at the deputy or even regular military level, and once that happens, perhaps the first recipient of the East God's highest science and technology award, which has not been spent on anyone for many years, will also be welcomed. There's only so much I can tell you. No matter how much, it would violate the confidentiality regulations. However, one thing to be aware of is that the target person you are protecting now is the key to the rise of the Eastern God's military field. Even if you lose your own life, you must protect them well." Xiao Wanjun didn't say much, but every sentence made him realize how important the task he had taken on this time was. It is precisely because he knows that the target person's house cannot be entered. You should know that the target person they are currently protecting, although he is still just a student, will soon become a technical chief engineer who even calls him a general when he sees him. Facing such a person, it is appropriate to be full of awe. Hundreds of military personnel waited quietly. About half an hour has passed. Qin Xiao lowered his head and thought, it's been a day since he sent all his emails to the Military Flight Command Academy of Daqing Air Force. Why hasn't there been any movement so far? Can't even get a spot at the Daqing Air Force Military Flight Command Academy without the pulse shock explosion motivation. Qin Xiao, who was originally full of confidence, now feels a little more uneasy. If possible, the Daqing Air Force Military Flight Command Academy should have contacted him long ago. Looking down at this matter, Qin Xiao arrived at the entrance of the community, only to find that the entire community was already surrounded by the military and blocked. Not to mention entering, even flies were probably unable to fly in. What happened? Qin Xiao murmured softly, and at that moment, a division-level officer surnamed Zhang walked up to Qin Xiao and saluted him with a military salute. "Hello Qin Xiao, this is Zhang Yu. I have been ordered to invite you to visit Fengcheng." Qin Xiao was startled by Zhang Yu's sudden salute. He soon realized something and asked in a low voice, is it because of the pulse shock explosion motive? Upon hearing these words, Zhang Yu quickly said, I believe so, but when it comes to confidentiality regulations, Qin Xiao doesn't need to tell me that. Qin Xiaoran understood clearly. I understand. However, I have a question to know. Please speak. Has the matter of the quota for the Dongxin Air Force Military Flight Command Academy been resolved for me? Zhang Yu was taken aback for a moment before saying, I wasn't told about the quota for the Dongxin Air Force Military Flight Command Academy, but Qin Xiao should have known about it when he went to Fengcheng. Qin Xiao thought for a moment before nodding and saying, okay, I'll come with you. Well, Qin Xiao, we may need to take all the information in your room with us. The pulse shock explosive motor has been developed, and all the data Qin Xiao has been stored in a USB drive. The textual data is now optional. Sure. Zhang Yu nodded and then called for a lieutenant, go, seal all the documents in Qin Xiao's room and take them away. Remember, as long as you have written them, even toilet paper is not allowed to be left behind. Qin Xiao. The sealing of textual materials takes time, and Zhang Yu has no intention of letting Qin Xiao stay for too long. Not long after, an armed helicopter landed in front of Qin Xiao. Residents who are prohibited from entering or leaving. At this moment, we saw a young man stepping into the almost fully armed helicopter. Amidst the howling, 2 advanced fighter jets from Dongxin flew over the Huayu community. The appearance of this scene made everyone's expression tense. Who is that young man who became a Wu Ji? The leader is so respectful of me. So it's not about catching spies, it seems like protecting someone. Is that young man the one the military wants to protect just now? That's the jet.X-20, our most advanced jet.X-20 fighter jet currently. Even the fighter jets have been deployed. Oh my God, who are we protecting? Accompanying the helicopter armed forces, Nyang, which big shot is this? He's a private visit in his humble attire. Everyone knows at this moment that their previous guess was completely wrong. The reason for such a big battle is not to catch spies, but to protect a young man who looks extremely young. As Wu Ji took off and the fighter jet roared past, many people were shocked by the scene before them. Many people turned this scene into a video and posted online, but it's not long before it's completely deleted. At this point, even fools know that the things they shoot cannot be posted, nor are they allowed to be posted. Everyone, once again, was so shocked that they couldn't breathe. Oh my goodness. What exactly is the identity of the young man who was just taken away? Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 7. Third Generation Aviation Engine Chief Engineer. You are listening at Novel Full.Audio. Today, the entire Eastern God is in a state of emptiness. In the sky, apart from a few constantly roaring fighter jets and the Wu Ji, there were hardly any other aircraft visible. Even many drones that ordinary people play with are now forcibly landing by various interference devices. Wu Jishang. Qin Xiaorao looked at Wu Ji with interest. Across from him, Zhang Yu sat precariously with a strange gaze. At this moment, Zhang Yu didn't seem like a division-level officer, but looked at Qin Xiao more like a subordinate looking at a superior. He couldn't believe that such a young man could be so valued by the military no matter what. Qin Xiao did not notice Zhang Yu's gaze, but kept studying this Wu Ji. This should be the first time he has had such close contact with Wu Ji, and it is false to say he is not curious. After studying for a while, Wu Ji had not yet arrived at the airport when his familiar phone rang. Zhang Qian. Qin Xiao lowered his head and glanced, somewhat stunned. A teacher from the Student Affairs Office of Dongxin University of Science and Technology had previously informed him of his withdrawal from school. This phone call should be closely related to dropping out of school. Hello, Teacher Zhang. Wu Ji's propellers clattered. Qin Xiao, what's the noise over there? Teacher Zhang, if you have anything to say, please let me know. I can hear from here. Qin Xiao did not mention the matter of Wu Ji, but in fact, he already knew the meaning of Zhang Qian making this phone call without asking. It's probably about notifying him to drop out of school. Okay, let me be blunt. I'm calling you this time to inform you to handle the withdrawal procedures. If you have time, it's best to go back to school in the next 2 days. Dropout notice, Qin Xiao had anticipated it earlier, but now it's just confirmed. So when Zhang Qian said to handle the withdrawal procedures, Qin Xiao didn't show any uncomfortable expression and appeared very indifferent. Well, I see, Teacher Zhang. I will go back to handle the withdrawal procedures when I have time. Qin Xiao's tone was very plain. For him, going to school was just completing a task. Moreover, now that his mother knows about dropping out of school, he doesn't care much about it. Teacher Zhang, it's a bit noisy on my end. I'll hang up first. Zhang Qian was stunned as he listened to the beep sound coming from his phone, somewhat lost in thought. Is that all? He originally thought that he would not be able to accept a big argument about handling the dropout procedures with Qin Xiao. It turned out that he was completely mistaken. Qin Xiao is even calmer than he imagined. It seems that dropping out of school has little impact on Qin Xiao. By the way, I almost forgot what the dean said. Zhang Qianjing was about to call back, but he thought that there was some noise on Qin Xiao's end, so he quickly edited a text message and sent it out. Qin Xiao, who received the text message, glanced at the content and replied, "Thank you." Then, he put his phone into his pocket and looked out in a daze. Sitting opposite Qin Xiao, Zhang Yu couldn't help but ask, has Qin Xiao completed the dropout procedures? Qin Xiao turned to look at him and said, it doesn't count either. It's mainly because I haven't attended classes in the past 2 years and was discouraged by the school. Zhang Yu opened his mouth and suddenly didn't know what to say. He could tell from the expression on Qin Xiao's face that he didn't care about being dropped out of school. Qin Xiao didn't care, but Daqing University of Science and Technology suffered heavy losses. A soon-to-be appointed project chief engineer is definitely the greatest honor of Daqing University of Science and Technology. However, Daqing University of Science and Technology personally gave up this honor. Zhang Yu closed his eyes, as if he could see how regretful the East God Science and Technology Institute would be after learning about Qin Xiao's situation, and there was even a possibility of going crazy. Fengcheng. The location of the second-generation aircraft engine project. Looking at the equipment and instruments in the laboratory, one can tell how advanced this laboratory is, and it can even be said to be the world's top research and development laboratory. At this moment, in the research and development room, there are occasional top scientists from the East Academy of Theological Sciences stepping in with great strides. The staff who came back and forth, while verifying the identity of the incoming person, showed a cheerful expression on their faces. The large conference room was already overcrowded, gathering all the top experts in mechanical dynamics. At this moment, there is still some noise in the large conference room, and many acquaintances are whispering to each other. Old Li, have you also been invited over by that old guy Chen Qi? What are you asking us to come over for, you know? An elderly person with graying hair was pleasantly patting the person in the front seat. The person known as Lao Li was slightly taken aback and was pleasantly surprised to find his old acquaintances behind him. Lao Ren, are you also here? Tell me quickly, what exactly does Chen Qi want to do with such a big battle? Isn't he always responsible for the development of the second-generation fighter jet? Why did the Ministry of Science and Technology and the Academy of Sciences suddenly bring us together? I just asked you, you're good, but you asked me the other way around. Old Li looked speechless and was suddenly transferred here. He is still in a fog now. If it weren't for knowing that this was proposed by Chen Qi, he would be too lazy to come. What do you care about him? It must be a good thing anyway. How many people want to get involved in Lao Chen's aviation engine project? This time, he might be a bad person. He wants to choose some people from us. Don't worry, there's a high possibility. I've inquired and all the people here are studying mechanical dynamics. That guy wouldn't have encountered difficulties or made any progress in the second-generation aircraft engine project, I think. The two were whispering when Chen-Chi, one of the two, pushed the door open and entered. Everyone, please be quiet. Chen-Chi's expression was serious, and his voice was full of vitality. All the people who came today were his acquaintances, so when it comes to talking, he is not polite and talks about things. At this moment, everyone's gaze was drawn to Chen-Chi. Even the two of them, Lao Li, who were chatting, quickly shut up at this moment. There is a reason to gather everyone here, but before that, everyone should sign the confidentiality agreement in front of us. After signing the confidentiality agreement, we can discuss other matters. As for whether you are willing to participate after knowing, it all depends on your willingness. At this moment, everyone opened the confidentiality bag in front of them with a rustling sound. Inside, a document with top-secret information was waiting for them. Top secret. Surprisingly, it is top secret, and it is also a 5-star top secret. This is the highest level of confidentiality agreement, and it has not been more than 3 times since the founding of the Eastern God. This. After seeing the 5-star top secret, many people's eyes froze and were somewhat shocked beyond measure. You should know that although these people have all participated in top secret projects, this is still the first time that 5-star top secret has happened. Even Samsung's top secrets are rare. 5-star top secret, this level of confidentiality, everyone is filled with excitement and anticipation. They all know how important it is to be included in a 5-star top secret research and development project, even without Chinchitwa mentioning it. How could we possibly refuse such an important task right in front of us? Don't say no, they won't even leave when Chinchi drives them away. A 5-star top secret research and development project, even if it's just about serving tea and water, many people are likely to flock to it. I think everyone should be aware of the confidentiality agreement and have already signed it. Now, I would like to introduce Qin Xiao, the chief engineer of this third-generation aviation engine project. I have received the message that he has arrived at the door and will arrive soon. Please be patient for a while. As soon as Qin Chi finished speaking, the scene was like a frying pan, and the atmosphere instantly became lively. What? The third-generation aircraft engine project. Aren't we still researching second-generation aircraft engines? Why did we propose third-generation aircraft engines so quickly? Who is Qin Xiao? Why haven't I heard of this name? As experts in mechanical dynamics, they naturally understand the significance represented by aircraft engines. Many people were envious of the second-generation aircraft engine project that Qin Chi was responsible for back then, hoping to participate in it. But now it has been less than 3 years, and the second generation of aircraft engines has not yet been produced. Qin Chi has already proposed the third-generation aircraft engine project. Everyone knows what this represents. The feasibility of the third-generation aircraft engine project is extremely high, even much higher than that of the second-generation. The person who developed the third-generation aircraft engine is undoubtedly Qin Xiao, the chief engineer mentioned by Qin Chi. At the thought of this possibility, for a moment, many people on the scene were in awe of the chief engineer who had not yet met or even heard of his name. Even if no one knows, it goes without saying that it must be a scientist who has been immersed in this field for decades, perhaps one of the few remaining members of the Academy of Sciences. So, a group of highly respected engineers turned their heads and looked eagerly at the door of the conference room, hoping for the appearance of that figure. P.S. A 3,000-word chapter, I am lazy to score 2 chapters, and I feel uncomfortable reading them separately. Seeking flowers, seeking evaluation tickets. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 8. Condensed on the ground, the white sound explosion cloud is. You are listening at Novel Full.Audio. In the conference room, dozens of experts engaged in scientific research are anxiously waiting. Expectations, anxieties, and some complex emotions mixed in. What they are waiting for, perhaps for a long time in the future, will be their immediate superior. The waiting time was not long, and soon several figures appeared in the surprised gaze of a group of scholars. The first to catch the eye were not experts and scholars, but a group of soldiers with live ammunition. It is not surprising that there are many people present in this situation. Many of them, when they were chief engineers for some projects back then, were no different from the current situation. The only difference was that there were not as many soldiers and they did not protect the conference room. But this situation undoubtedly indicates the importance of General Manager Chin. After 7 or 8 soldiers walked in, a young figure appeared in front of everyone. Young people. No, the chief engineer hasn't arrived yet. The crowd was slightly surprised. Chen Qi had already obtained information about Qin Shao from Xiao Wanjun. Even though he knew that Qin Shao was only 19 or 20 years old, he couldn't help but take a breath of cold air when he saw Qin Shao with his own eyes, and even Qin Zhao's young and even slightly immature cheeks. However, in surprise, Chen Qi quickly welcomed him. But the other people who originally thought Qin Shao was not the chief engineer saw Chen Qi walking towards Qin Shao with an excited expression on his face, their eyes wide open, and they vaguely felt something was wrong in their hearts. Some people with flexible minds are now holding their breath and concentrating. Is it? No way. Can't this person, who is even younger than their grandson, be the chief engineer of the third-generation aircraft engine project? A deputy military chief engineer at the age of 20, or less than 20. Just as everyone was surprised and disbelieving, Chen Qi had already welcomed Qin Shao onto the stage. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you to Qin Shao, the chief engineer of our third-generation aircraft engine project. Chen Qi's voice rang out in the vast conference room, loud and lingering, constantly pounding everyone's eardrums and hearts. Hiss. It's really him. In the conference room, after Chen Qi's voice fell, there was a clear moment of silence, followed by waves of gasping air. Everyone's expression was almost the same. They didn't believe it, or they couldn't believe it. Lao Chen, are you not joking? This younger generation is even younger than my grandson. He is the chief engineer of the third-generation aircraft engine. Yeah, Lao Chen, you're not joking with us, are you? It's not that we don't believe it, but that this is too. The voices of questioning echoed one after another, not because they didn't want to believe it, but because the scene before them was too terrifying. They have seen geniuses, many of whom entered the Academy of Sciences at the age of 30, and even those who were responsible for a major project before the age of 40. However, a young man at the age of 20 served as the chief engineer of a 5-star top-secret project, which has never happened since the founding of Daqing. If Qin Shao were 30 years old, they could still comfort themselves to some extent. After all, there are demons in this world. 20 years old, no matter how evil it is, it's impossible. Chen Qi seemed to have anticipated the situation in front of him, and when he received Qin Zhao's information, he also had this expression. Cough. Chen Qi coughed twice, cleared his throat, and said solemnly, "What kind of person am I, Chen Qi? All of you here should understand that the third-generation aircraft engine, also known as the pulse shock engine, was developed by Qin Shao Qin, the younger than 20-year-old chief engineer beside me. We have carefully certified all the information on the pulse shock explosive motive, and the feasibility is as high as 99%. Is it really him? Pulse shock burst motivation. Oh my goodness. Even the third-generation aviation engine has been developed. Many people are amazed, but upon closer examination, it seems normal. If it weren't for the pulse shock engine, the Alliance wouldn't have entrusted the third-generation aircraft engine, a 5-star top-secret project, to a young man of 20. After believing it in their hearts, everyone began to look at the young man who had become their immediate superior. Faced with the gaze of a group of scientists, Qin Xiao appeared calm and composed. "All right, I won't say much else. Those who are willing to stay can stay, while those who are unwilling can continue with the previous project. However, one thing is that before the Alliance is ready to expose it, this project and everything related to General Engineer Qin are not allowed to be mentioned at all. The people who stayed behind are getting tired from now on. There has been almost no progress in the second-generation aircraft engines for 3 years, and now, with such a good opportunity in front of us, what we need to do is give the Alliance a perfect answer sheet, a pulse shock engine. Starting from today, everyone will cooperate with General Engineer Qin to develop the pulse shock explosion motivation needed by the Alliance in the shortest possible time." Chen Qi's voice rang out in the conference room. "Additionally, I don't want to see the phenomenon of relying on the elderly to sell them off. In science, the wise comes first. Although Mr. Qin is young, his knowledge reserves are not comparable to any of us." When he said these words, Chen Qi's tone sank slightly. "Yes. Everyone responds." From this response, Chen Qi knew that none of the people present seemed to be leaving. However, it can also be understood that a 5-star top-secret project, even if it is just serving tea and water, is still an honor. Qin Xiao came to his office and took a deep breath, his face tinged with excitement. To be honest, as the chief engineer, he doesn't care, but personally creating his own pulse shock engine is what pleases him the most. However, it has to be said that the Alliance is very bold. Just because it was developed by him, he dares to be appointed as the chief engineer, which may be difficult for other forces. But it also indirectly illustrates one thing. That is to say, Daqing is a force that does not discriminate against talented individuals. It is an alliance worth the effort of all researchers. It is worthy of everyone's heartfelt love. The next step is how to solve all the difficulties within 3 months and then go to Daqing Air Force Military Flight Command Academy. The development of a pulse detonation engine is just a side effect, and the Daqing Air Force Military Flight Command Academy is his ultimate goal. Condensed in a white sonic boom cloud on the ground and soaring in the sky, this is what he truly wants. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 9. Heroes emerging from youth since ancient times. You are listening at Novel Full.Audio. Time passes by bit. In November, other cities still feel a bit hot and dry. But at this moment, Fengcheng has gradually become colder, and many people have already put on slightly thicker clothes to keep warm. The Huayu community was surrounded by the military and news of a mysterious young man was taken away, but it gradually calmed down due to the intervention of the Eastern God official. But Qin Xiao, who came to the Aviation Engine Research and Development Base, began his life of developing pulse shock explosive engines. A huge research and development center. Qin Xiao, dressed in dust.free clothing, walked towards a giant dust.free manufacturing workshop in the middle. In the dust.free workshop, there is a nearly formed aircraft engine placed. On both sides of Qin Xiao, there are more than a dozen experts in the field of mechanical and thermal engineering, including Chen Qi. These people are now eagerly looking at the almost completed aircraft engine in front of them. Or, in other words, it is a pulse shock burst motive. Pulse shock burst motivation. I didn't expect to see the third-generation aircraft engine with my own eyes in my lifetime, it's unbelievable. This is definitely a qualitative change in the thermal field of Daqing machinery, and it is also a transformation in the history of Daqing aviation. It's amazing that we have already developed a third-generation aircraft engine, even though other powerful military forces have not even developed a second-generation aircraft engine. This is simply unbelievable. 3 months ago, when I learned that we had overcome all the challenges of third-generation aircraft engines, I couldn't believe it. But now, third-generation aircraft engines are appearing in front of us. Unexpectedly, I still feel a bit incredulous. This is really the aircraft engine we have developed. There is no limit to knowledge. Those who reach it first. 3 months ago, I thought General Chin was so young and could understand aviation engines. Now it seems that I am using colored glasses to see people. It turns out that there are really geniuses in this world. No, you're wrong. Mr. Chin is not a genius. Everyone is watching him. What does it mean? But the next sentence from this person made everyone feel relieved. He is a demon. Truly a demon. Everyone suddenly realized. Yeah. It's a demon. Only the word demon can describe Qin Zhao's talent in the field of aviation engines. Some people say that genius equals 99% of sweat plus 1% of inspiration. But at this moment, everyone felt that this sentence was wrong. Genius is 99% inspiration, plus that 1% sweat. Without inspiration, no matter how much effort is put in, there will be no result. Perhaps Chen Qi can understand this truth the most. He took over the second-generation aircraft engine project for 3 years, but over the past 3 years, he spent countless funds and personnel, but ended up with no gains. But Qin Zhao, the third-generation chief engineer of aviation engines, only took 3 months to directly develop the pulse shock engine. Although it has not been completely completed yet, all the difficulties have already been solved. The big guy in front of us is actually a preliminary completion, and even without Qin Zhao, experts and scholars who have some knowledge in this field can still create a pulse shock explosion motivation. Actually, for our entire project team, the biggest gain was not the upcoming completion of the pulse shock explosion motivation in front of us. Chen Qi's voice rang out in the dust. Free space, and everyone was impressed by this sentence. Isn't the pulse shock burst motivation their biggest gain? Besides this, what else is there? Many people have a puzzled expression on their faces. Faced with the confusion of the crowd, Chen Qi turned his gaze to the young man standing in the middle of them, calmly looking at the pulse shock's explosive motive, and his voice rang out again. Compared to the pulse shock explosion motivation, Mr. Qin is the biggest gain for the project team, isn't he? He is the real weapon of the country. With General Engineer Qin present, what else can't we create? The third-generation pulse shock engine. I think maybe in a few years, we can even use the 4th-generation aircraft engine. If Chen Qi had said this 3 months ago, I'm afraid everyone would have scoffed and even shown disgust on their faces. Chen Qi's words are clearly some nonsense. How can a new generation of aircraft engines be developed within a few years? If it were that simple, the first generation of aircraft engines would not have taken a full 30.40 years to start developing the second generation of aircraft engines. Upgrades are not just a slight improvement in performance, but a comprehensive improvement in the engine. Whether it is performance, stability, or other aspects, there will be a qualitative change. Otherwise, it can also be called an upgrade. Especially for aviation engines, which involve high precision and cutting-edge technology, it is difficult to upgrade them without 40 or 50 years of scientific development. So, a few years is simply impossible. But at this moment, everyone deeply agrees with Chen Qi's words. Because General Engineer Qin is here. All of this is possible. Mr. Qin's knowledge in mechanical and thermal engineering has impressed everyone for the past 3 months. Those who can stand here are all experts from the Academy of Sciences. Although there is some gap in knowledge among everyone, the gap is really small. Usually, everyone is not convinced by anyone. Facing General Qin, it's not acceptable to refuse. Mr. Qin's understanding of mechanical knowledge is too advanced, making everyone feel like he is a person from the future. Everyone's gaze was now focused on Qin Zhao, who was staring intently at the explosive motive of the first-generation pulse, with a strong look of reverence in his eyes. Even more so, at this moment there is a hint of fanaticism. Knowledge, regardless of age or gender, comes first. Since ancient times, heroes have produced young people. The talent of this young man has already made a group of proud researchers in their 50s and 60s lower their proud heads. If it weren't for this young man, even with all the information on the pulse shock burst motivation, the launch of the pulse shock burst motivation would probably have been 3 to 5 years later. With the help of Qin Shao, the pulse shock burst engine only took 3 months, almost 99% of the research and development has been completed, and the remaining 1% is enough to be completed in 1 month, or even not at all. In less than 4 months, the 4th-generation aircraft engine was developed. Before, no one thought it could be done. But today, what they have seen with their own eyes, they cannot accept it. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 10. The National Treasure of Being a Pilot, this is also. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Dust Free Workshop. Praise kept coming and going. The assembly work of the pulse detonation engine is also being carried out in an orderly manner. Watching the 3rd-generation aircraft engine gradually complete in front of me, it's fake if I'm not excited. Especially for people like Qin Chi, who have been researching 2nd-generation aircraft engines for so many years without any progress, now they have directly skipped the 2nd-generation aircraft engines and developed 3rd-generation aircraft engines. The excitement can be said to make many people burst into tears, which is somewhat difficult for them to do on their own. Some elderly people are even more tearful at this moment. Qin Chi also had red eyes. No one knows more than him, the 2nd-generation chief engineer of aviation engines, how difficult it is to develop new aviation engines. Now his dream is realized in front of him, completed in his own hands, and he even wishes to hold on to Qin Shao and take a bite. This young man is so cute. Qin Shao not only solved the problem of Dongshan lacking high-performance aviation engines, but also gave everyone a new inspiration. That's the material for aircraft engines. As is well known, among the reasons that hinder the development of aviation engines, materials are the most important. Especially for fighter jets that pursue high performance, even breaking through Mach 10, a high-performance aircraft engine often means the need for better materials. Poor materials not only shorten the lifespan of the engine, but also significantly increase the failure rate during high-power operation. But Qin Shao perfectly solved this problem. Mr. Qin, how did you come up with the idea of using titanium alloys, metal matrix composites, and C/C matrix composites? Yeah, the main issue with aviation engines is the material issue, which is also what Dongshan lacks the most. What you have solved is not only the material problem of aviation engines, but also some of my difficulties in aerospace. With these materials, Dongshan's aerospace industry is likely to see a huge improvement. And Qin Shao's voice occasionally echoed in the Dust.Free workshop. The development of the pulse shock burst engine has reached its final stage, and even if I am not here, it will not be difficult to complete it with everyone's abilities. These words made everyone, who were originally excited, breathe a sigh and look at Qin Shao with a stunned expression. What does it mean? Others had not yet realized what Qin Shao was saying, and some didn't quite understand. However, Qin Chi, who was in the crowd, quickly restrained his smile at this moment, and a bitter smile appeared on his face. With so many people now, only he probably knows what Qin Shao means by saying this. What should have come is still here. Qin Chi remembered very clearly in his heart that 3 months ago, when Qin Shao sent out the research and development plan for the pulse shock explosive motor, his purpose was to. Nowadays, the pulse detonation engine has been almost completed, and whether Qin Shao is here or not has little impact on the development of pulse detonation engines. In this situation, it is reasonable for Qin Xiao to choose to leave. But Chen Qi was unwilling to accept it. In his view, although pilots are Qin Zhao's dream, as a scientific researcher, Qin Zhao's role in Dongxin is even greater. A pilot, no matter how top-notch, cannot control a war between great powers. But a top scientific researcher can. Moreover, Qin Xiao is not an ordinary top scientific researcher. Such a character would be a waste to become a pilot. Even if he knew it was Qin Zhao's dream. Don't try to persuade Qin Xiao, how willing he is. In Chen Qi's mind, he was constantly organizing language. And everyone else, at this moment, looked bewildered. Is General Engineer Qin planning for us to follow up on all subsequent work? General Engineer Qin, it's too late to retreat from the current situation. Anyway, there aren't many days left. General Engineer Qin must follow up on the research and development of the pulse shock explosive motive. Yeah. Although the follow-up work is simple, there is no General Engineer Qin on the side, and we old bones have no confidence at all. Does Mr. Qin have any plans to study other big guys? If that's the case, then we won't say much. It's important for Mr. Qin to focus on big guys. That's right, Lao Li is right. If General Engineer Qin wants to get a new big guy, we fully support him. Obviously, people like Lao Li haven't figured out the situation yet. Faced with the words of the crowd, Qin Xiao hesitated a bit, but he knew that although he also enjoyed scientific research, soaring in the sky was his ultimate destination. The white sonic boom cloud surrounding him, along with the famous maneuvers in his mind, is time to shine brightly in this world. He has a mechanical affinity, and although those maneuvers are not simple, Qin Xiao knows that as long as he is willing to learn, he can quickly master them. The pulse shock burst motivation has been completed, and it's time for me to leave. Qin Xiao let out a long sigh. Staying together for 3 months, saying no attachment is false. But life is like this, a feast that never ends in the world. Others have not yet realized the meaning behind Qin Zhao's words, only Chen Qi. He suddenly walked up to Qin Xiao and said in an almost pleading tone. Mr. Qin, can you stay? I know your initial idea was to become a fighter pilot, but to be honest, staying in a research position is the greatest contribution to this country. Dongxin, you also need researchers like yourself to strive on the front line of scientific research. A pilot, even an ace pilot, cannot control the victory or failure of a major war in today's war, but research workers like General Engineer Qin can do it. So, on behalf of all the people involved in the Pulse Earthquake Burst Motivation Project in Dongxin, I request that General Engineer Qin stay. Chen Qi spoke sincerely and looked at Qin Xiao with a stern expression on his face. And at this point, the others finally understood. I understand the meaning of what Qin Xiaojiang just said. Qin Xiao wants to leave, not to rest or study other big guys, but to completely leave scientific research and become a fighter pilot. A scientific researcher who can be called a national treasure, running to become a fighter pilot is such a waste. This. How can it be? Absolutely not. Block. And it must be stopped. We must never let this kind of thing happen. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th.